Welcome to the Strong Women's Club, Season 3, Episode 16. Hi, everybody. This is Edie Berg. Thank you so much for joining me today. Lisa Kelly is our guest expert today. She is the president of Kelly Wellness Consulting, Inc., which is a global certification program for workplace wellness ambassadors. And we talk a lot about how and why Lisa decided to go down this route with her business, a certification program that is global, instead of the many other choices she had when she was first starting out. Lisa has an eclectic background, just like many of us do, and she could have chosen to establish any kind of business having to do with wellness. So why a certification program? And also, how is she growing it and how is she marketing it? And I can give you a hint. She uses LinkedIn as one of her main lead generators. So if you'd like to learn how Kelly does that, we get into the details. And also, I'd like to mention that my coaching packages are still available at the end of 2017, special prices. If you're even thinking about it, then contact me and let's see if it's a good fit for us. This would be good for you if you'd like help in getting some vision and clarity and focus, and getting some help in organizing and planning your year out clearly, getting some fresh ideas and a new set of eyes on your business. And basically, if you want to accelerate your growth, if you really want to get ahead quicker than before, we can do it much more easily and better together. So send me an email to edie@thestrongwomensclub.com. Edie is spelled E-D-I-E, and we'll talk about it. So let's get into my conversation with Lisa Kelly of Kelly Wellness Consulting. Lisa Kelly, thank you so much for coming on to the Strong Women's Club podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here with me.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm very eager to get stuck into your program and your business. But I wanted to tell you that I used to live in Alberta many years ago. Yes, south of Calgary. I lived in Tabor. Have you ever heard of Tabor?
Is that the home of the Tabor corn?
Yes, a lot of corn. And Lethbridge.
They're infamous for their corn. You see them on the street corner selling Tabor corn every summer.
It's so funny. So I lived there in 1987 and 88, and in Lethbridge.
And where are you living now then? I'm not sure where you're looking.
I live in Israel.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So you're in Alberta. So where in Alberta are you in Canada?
In a bedroom, St. Albert, just next to Edmonton, if you're familiar. Yeah.
Yep, in the north. So you're getting ready for winter.
Oh, we've been here for about a month now.
Oh, really? Yeah, so you'll hate me because we're still basically beach weather here in Israel.
Oh, well, I'm envious. I know I have a lot of clients who are in southern climates, and I'm like, I really don't want to hear it's 80 degrees right now.
I know.
As I'm looking out of the snow anyway.
I know, it's such a long winter, but it is. It really is a long winter, although I lived in Boston as well, and Boston was harder than southern Alberta. I think northern Alberta is probably wins in that respect.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Okay. So you have the Kelly Wellness Consulting. So why don't we just start with getting into your background and what your company is all about, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty of the company.
Sure. Well, thank you again for inviting me. And so my background has really been in the works for, I would say, probably since the start of my career. And I won't go into a long recitation around that, but I have a very eclectic background, and it served me well. And, I used to do career counseling, and I always said to my clients, you never know how your past training skills and your skill sets will come to, and what path it might lead you down. And so my background is very eclectic in that I have a business degree, a master's in adult education. I was a former fitness instructor and personal trainer. I'm a registered nutritionist, and I've done leadership training. I was a corporate training leader, and as well as a career counselor for adult programs. So my interests and skill sets have really spanned quite the gamut. But when I look back now, it all, there was a bit of a linear path more than I thought. So now, for example, after many years of doing private personal training and nutrition and wellness consulting with predominantly, clients, I wanted to sort of move outside that realm and then take all my skill sets from my business to my training and development, my health and wellness background, and bring it to serve a larger mass, if you will, through workplaces. So that brought me, I guess, about 5 years ago to form Kelly Wellness. And that was a new, an outgrowth from my prior business, WellFit Bodies. And so, and to be honest, I didn't have a lot of market research behind me in terms of, which is a no-no, I know, because I tell my clients otherwise, but I really just jumped feet first. And I even had some people tell me, that won't fly around here. Well, it did, and it has. And to make a long story short, I guess about 5 years ago, as I said, I started Kelly Wellness. I went on a conference in Las Vegas, go figure, a wellness conference in Las Vegas. And I met with some people. And from there, I started forming an idea in my head that I would start a global certification program. And I had, all the adult training, program development. I really had all the background to make this happen. But I was a small fish in a big sea. And so, because there's a lot of heavy competition out there, if you will, for workplace wellness, but not from a global perspective. And so very quickly, I realized that there's a niche market here, if you will, to move globally. And you might think, well, how can that be a niche? But it's niche in that there are, to my knowledge, really no other programs, certainly not like how our program is structured, that reaches out. Like we're in about 8 countries now. And we have ambassadors that are trained and working in workplace wellness through our programs, as I said, from various countries. And so, and really the genesis, to go back for a second, I realized, we always say necessity is a motherhood of invention, I guess, if that's how they say it. Mm-hmm. And I realized after doing several certifications myself through the U.S., great programs, but as an adult trainer, I was wanting more, and I felt I could do better. And I didn't want a textbook theory type course. I wanted a real hands-on. So our programs, clients are involved in group projects. It's very experiential, very hands-on. It's almost like they're working in a company developing and delivering programs right through to our last stage in our level 2, where they're actually out presenting what they developed to industry assessors. So I really took the best of what I had and what was missing in the market and brought it all together to meet a global need. And so we have, I said, we're learning best practices in our programs across the globe from different trainees. And so that's really where I am right now with my program. We have several programs, 2 levels that train anyone from administrators to health coaches to HR to coordinators to executives, how to develop and coordinate and lead workplace wellness programs. And there's 2 levels of certification there.
Okay, amazing. So this is an amazing company. It's all online, right? So all of your teaching, everything you do, all your courses, everything is on the internet.
It is.
So let's just start off I'm going to go back a little bit now, or
Sure.
really back quite a bit. So when you decided to switch from going to make that transformation from being a personal trainer from one-on-one and into making something a much bigger kind of a project, not project, but you to reach many more people, to be able to help many more people, and to go into corporations.
Right.
It's a whole different thing. Even it's true that it is around wellness, but you had other options at that stage. I mean, you could have taught other personal trainers to be trainers. You could have, you could have chosen many different things. So why go corporate? Why choose not only corporate, but to teach, to make this certification program? And how was your thought process at that stage?
Well, I guess for me, I really looked within, and it just evolved very naturally, very organically. All my interests and skill sets came together, and I really wanted to not only work with corporations, but I wanted to train, because I wanted to get back to, I used to be a trainer in corporations. And so I wanted to get back to developing programs and leading. So I always say, know your passions, follow your passions and your skill sets. And that's what I did. And so this gave me the best of both, where I get to work one-on-one with clients, but still get to work with corporations, still get to work in the wellness space. So it really met all of my, because I get bored really easily. So I always need that challenge. And so this gave me those challenges and met all my, my passions, right?
So how did you know where to start?
I'm a really avid researcher, and I'm a good networker. So I reached out, I formed an alliance of what I now have as an advisory board. And these are people that, leading experts throughout from Australia to US and Canada, some who actually searched me out when they saw what I was doing through LinkedIn and my posts. And I remember one day I was in a dressing room, actually in a store, and this guy calls me, and he's now one of my senior advisors. He says, "Hi, Lisa, this is, such and such, and I really want to get involved in what you're doing." And so, that was my first clue in that, okay, I'm really onto something here if people are coming to me to want to help support me. And incidentally, they all did this free. I didn't have any money. I was bootstrapping my company, and at very meager means at that. And so they just volunteered. And I was just, and our program is so much stronger because of their passion to help support, my endeavor.
So these are people who came in and said, I wanted to help you in as advisors as what?
Well, they're advisors. And then also once we got going, I hired some of them on to be trainers. I've hired PhDs to vet my programs. I've hired, on demand, I've hired some of my advisors who are, some of them are now my senior program trainers. And so really those people that reached out have stuck with me. And I have about 3 or 4 people that since I guess 5 years ago are still somehow involved in the program, either coaching, advising, or on a retainer as need be to teach the program.
And were you ever doing the wellness programs inside corporations yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I was doing workplace wellness long before, in Canada, we don't even call it so much workplace wellness. It falls under what we call sometimes a stealth modus, if you will, in that, I was doing wellness. If you understand workplace wellness, there's many dimensions from nutrition, which is what we think about nutrition and fitness, but it also spans into career development and stress mastery and all those areas. And I was doing them in corporations. I was doing 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I was doing career development, and I would go
doing
into
them how, like you were giving lectures, or what were you?
Yeah. I was trained in those certifications, so I was delivering those programs internally to companies and training employees. But also, then in years later, then I would go into companies and I would teach fitness classes during the lunch hours. I also, in one year, I worked at a school environment, so I taught a nutrition and fitness program after school hours to the employees there. So I've always been involved in workplace wellness and organizations, from, like I said, nutrition and fitness up through to professional development. And once you get into workplace wellness, it really has about 6 different dimensions, and from social community well-being to intellectual well-being to career well-being. And so I've really, throughout my career, have spanned and touched on all those areas, which has really give me good training and background to lead and develop and teach the programs we're teaching.
So, okay. And all right. So you decided that you wanted to do corporate, and instead of one-on-one, and then you made the decision to make a certification program. Then what? How did you write the program? How did you decide that it was going to be a certification program instead of a franchise, or instead of a licensing program? And I mean, that's
a really good question. And to be honest, it's one I still struggle with today. I don't mind saying I'm in my mid 50s or early 50s maybe. And, I had to look, well, how many more years do I want, and where do I want to put my energies? Do I want to stay one-on-one training with clients? Do I want to do a train-to-trainer program? Do I want to franchise out? And I'm still, working on that. I think because of, I've maybe got another 10 or 15 years in the market to start out a franchise and do that. It would probably eat up all my time before I actually saw any returns. So I really had to decide for me. My passion is working with clients. Now, I do at times bring in other trainers to take over some parts of the program. Sometimes I go back in and teach a larger part of the program. Like we have a group project that usually I hire out my experienced participants to do the leadership of the group project. This time around, I took it back because I wanted to make changes. So I wanted to vet those changes. The only way you can see that is by being hands-on. So and it's a lot of work. I realize just how much work it is.
It is
yeah. But anyway, nonetheless, it's been a really good experience, and we're wrapping that up in the next week or so. But it is a really good question. And to your audience, then you really have to go within, and this comes back to my career counseling days, and decide where are you going to put your eggs in what basket, right? And so I really had to decide, okay, for me, this is where I want to go. I enjoy program development. I enjoy training. Like we're in the process of developing a new executive wellness leadership program, and I just developed a healthy eating program for workplaces. So we've got about 4 or 5 different programs developed over the past few years, and still in the works. And also I want to write a book. I'm just starting to develop a book on all my experiences. And so I realized, I could spend all my time franchising and developing a franchise, but that's really not where my heart is. And that's really not where I want to put my focus.
Yeah.
And, so it's really one of those things you got to really look within and see what your goal, to be honest, my goal is not like others to be able to claim that I'm making, my 6 triple figured incomes or whatever. I'm very, I do okay and I make a nice income, but I'm very fortunate to have a husband who supports me as well, because a lot of what I do make in our programs, I reinvest it back into program development. And my husband is coming on board now too. So we've got some plans for him and I to go out in the industry and start doing a husband and wife team, because he's into safety. So we're going to merge his areas in safety and which is a big fit for workplace wellness.
Yes. And so I'm so glad you said that about, first of all, being able to work with your husband, have your husband maybe come and work together with or I don't know, I mean, depending on how you build that new company or new program.
He's going to retire. He'll just come into, he's going to retire in another 5 to 7 years. So he's actually co-authoring the book with me. He helps support the safety part of my current programs. And so we're going to just take that and expand on it. And then by the time he retires, we'll be ready to go full force as a team into that side of things, right?
Right. So but it is important to know that not everything that looks like that looks like it's bringing in huge amounts of money, right? It's important to know that, because when you start at the very beginning of a business, you do have dreams of making good money. I mean, very good money, not just day to day money. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a part that you can't always judge a book by its cover. Let's say it that way.
No, absolutely.
Right? You can't, and you have to be able to plan it that way and to know what to expect and make your choices accordingly. And now, like how much do you work, let's say, or how much have you been working regularly? A lot.
Do you really want to know?
Yes, I really want to know.
I mean, to be honest, I really have to be mindful of practicing what I preach. And right now I'm actually developing carpal tunnel syndrome because I'm typing too much.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I had to really start, okay, Lisa, slow down here. And so now I'm going to do what I'm telling my clients is I set my timer. I do my wrist rotations. I do my stretches. I, do my hand exercises, do my yoga, do some meditation, just anything to get up. So I actually set a 30-minute timer now to get up, force myself away from the computer, because
every 30 minutes, it's a lot.
Yeah, if we don't it is. If we don't take care of ourselves and, we're going to obviously not be any use or value to others. And so I really realized I had to start practicing what I'm preaching. Even, I started putting on weight because I'm sitting at the computer too much.
Yeah.
So I started, following my own program that I developed and, I'm starting to knock off the pounds again. I mean, it's very easy to get sucked into that vortex, right? Of just being so tunnel vision and focusing on your work and at the, neglect of our own personal health and well-being. And I really have to walk the talk. That's what we do, right?
Right.
And
so let's talk a little bit about how you get your clients. So your clients are actually other fitness, health and wellness professionals or potential professionals, right?
Yes and no. I mean, that is one subset of my market. I have a very broad market base, which makes it challenging because you have to develop different marketing messages, obviously, for those different niches. But I have everything. I've had literally a NASA rocket scientist take my program. I've had VPs of Goldman Sachs. I've had career counselors, HR, fitness, nutrition coaches, administrative people, managers. So we've had it really anyone who has an interest in delivering workplace wellness in companies, whether they're what I call independent or internals, right?
Right. Okay, I see. To get these clients, to reach these potential clients, whoever they are, what are your I know that you have an amazing like a free course that you give. It's a kind of an opt-in, which is it's a very thorough course that people that I've opted into it.
Yeah, well, it's actually a free course that's going to become a paid course because it evolved into, several of my consultants, at least this is way too much for a free course.
It's a lot.
So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to make it upcoming in next year. It'll be a small fee for the program. And then those who want to go on and do my certifications will get the rebate back at the cost of that program. Right.
Okay. That makes sense. So how else are you reaching your potential clients?
Well, I do a lot of one-on-one networking. And when I look back, for as much as, and I took out quite a bit of Facebook advertising, and I'm not dissing Facebook advertising, but I don't know that it got a lot of signups to my free programs. Did it result in a lot of paid conversions? I'm not sure. I haven't looked back at the analytics. I haven't had a chance. But I do know, and this is something your audience really might want to take to heart. It really comes down to the old adage of it's who you know and the networking, the relationship building. And so most 80% 80% of my clients coming into the program have either been referred, because I do have an affiliate referral, or, they've been following me through my Facebook groups, because I'm very active in our Workplace Wellness Professionals Facebook group. So I spend a lot of my time there. Or also I do, I reach out, I get a lot of requests to get connected on LinkedIn. So I use LinkedIn a lot, and it really helps tap into the professional market, and HR and existing wellness coordinators. And then my health coach market, I find I get that more through the Facebook groups. But I nurture relationships. So it really comes down to nurturing relationships. And then I say to my ambassadors who are reaching out to employers, it can take up to 10 or 13 touch points with an employer, from not knowing you to the point of, maybe I'm interested. And that's only at an interest level that they want to learn more. And so even my own ambassadors, sometimes they get discouraged when they reach out a couple times and they don't get a response from an employer. And I'm saying, guys, it just, you really got to do that. I hate to use the word funnel, but you got to go through that whole, building the know, like, trust factor that we hear about. Right. And really working those relationships. And it can take sometimes up to a year to get to the point where they're even interested in asking about your program. Right. And I have one ambassador who's so good at this. She does not let go of her relationship building, and she might not hear. She just continually every month sends out an article that she's found, or one she's written, or a post, and then just ends off that little, and it's only 2 or 3 lines. Here's something you might be interested in relating to workplace wellness. And then she'll end off saying, by the way, if you want to reach out at any time, I'm here. I'd love to share my programs. And invariably, every 3 or 4 months, one of those employers will say, yeah, actually, I'd like to learn more. And she never loses faith in that process, right? And so that process works for her, and she works it.
Yes. So is that what you mean by one-on-one networking, or what do you mean exactly by one-on-one?
Well, yeah, I mean, really nurturing those relationships, going in, one thing I'm really trying to get my ambassadors to do with respect to marketing to employers is to really work the LinkedIn avenue and forum and platform.
Okay, so let's get into that in a little bit of detail, because I think that's really interesting and very useful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would go out and through the search functions, and it's quite a process, I coach, but I won't get into it now, but you find out, who's who in the zoo, right? So who, I'm global. So I may tap into Israel. I say HR representative Israel, and I just find who comes up, and then I look at their profiles and see if I'm pretty intuitive. So I read their profiles and think, okay, this person might just be interested in workplace wellness. Yeah. So I'll reach out to them. And as I said, just share a little bit about myself, just, hi, how are you doing? Da, 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 da. This is who I am. And, if you're interested in learning more, and then just leave it at that. And sometimes you might go through 100 of those contacts before you'll get one that says yes. And so there's a lot of elbow grease involved in this, right?
Really? 100? Really? I mean,
that might be a stretch, but it's not, it depends on how well you vet things, how well you vet those, prospects, right?
Yes.
And how well you look at their profiles, and then how well you do your intro to them and show, relatability, or that they may potentially be interested in what you have. And so it really comes down to understanding, as we say, understanding their needs and wants, right? Yeah. And when we position ourselves that way, that shows them what's in it for them. Right? I don't want to sound too cliche, because I know we use these terms a lot, but really it is what's in it for them, right? So show them what's in it for them. And as we say, show the benefits and not the features. And I'm still learning that one. I mean, it's very natural to want to promote what we do, right? And then you got to go deeper and look at, okay, that's fine.
So say what? Why exactly?
Right?
Why is that interesting?
How's this going to benefit me? How's this going to benefit my career? How's it going to benefit my life? Why should I invest my time in responding to you? And just really incidentally, just as a little tip, because I like to always leave some little valuable nuggets. And right now I'm really paying attention to people who use LinkedIn Messenger, if you will, for marketing. And I got to be honest, I've done it myself, and it doesn't get you anywhere. Yeah. Just to fire off those random, firing off those bullets. Here's my program. Here's a link. Sign up. It doesn't get you anywhere. And I'm thinking, I can really see it now. I didn't see it when I first started out, and so. But as I said, it takes work then to build those relationships, right?
So you're commenting on their articles, you're commenting on their posts, you're just talking to them first, like building.
That's one way through that public, the public posting. But I also go in and private message them and say, I'd like to, be connected with you on LinkedIn, right? And this is why. Most often I get a lot more people requesting LinkedIn with me, because I'm fairly out there in social media. But I do more and more now go in and actually select people that I want to connect with.
Sure.
Because I think they might be, our programs might have some value for them, right? But again, I still got to walk them through that education process, which can take months and months. And sometimes then it's like they're very interested, but it's just not the right timing. And so I've had some clients tell me they've been following me for 3 years before they've been able to or ready to take my programs. And so, it's
it
really
is a long.
It is.
It's never just one time. I mean, it's really
not
never.
It's not a one-trick pony by any means. No.
Okay, so you mentioned you wanted to write a book. Where else? You have this fantastic certification program, which is global, and then you have ambassadors, and then the ambassadors they go and they teach. They do their own health and wellness. Do they have anything that comes back up to you, or they're independent workers after that? Independent. Own field?
Because of my business model, I don't have it as of yet that, they pay like an annual fee or have to remit anything back to me. So that's not the case. When we get into our executive wellness leadership program, that may change. They may have to pay a fee to, like, they'll be, I'm teaching executives, but I also am going to have a side program that my ambassadors can train and become what I call like a mini Lisa. So they can go out and take my full program and deliver it. But there will be like a franchise fee there for them to do that, for lack of a better word, because it's going to be a really expensive program, and they stand to make really good money by teaching this program.
Yes.
So, and there's going to be other things like they'll need to have a teaching platform, a Rizuku e-learning platform in that. So like right now, some of them will use Facebook, but we're going to have really standards as far as the executive program goes with respect to the platforms they're going to use to facilitate online programs and what have you. Because, executives coming in, they're going to pay a good dollar to come into this program, and they're going to have a level of expectation of, a high standard, if you will, for all levels of the program, right?
Right.
So that's, that's where we're headed next year. That's going to be my big projects, is working on the Executive Wellness Leadership Program, training our ambassadors. We have 2 programs that'll be offshoots of that they'll train to be able to be, sort of a trainer of executives, because I won't be able to handle it all. I got too many programs. And so I do have to start training more people then to take over.
Mm-hmm. So I was just about to ask you also about your staff. What kind of a team do you have?
Well, we're all virtual. I have a gal who's in, just in time on demand services. One gal is in the UK, another gal is in British Columbia. I have another guy I'm working with now in Greece. So, some of them I found through Fiverr. And one gal, she's really become, I can almost say my right-hand gal, and she's my designer. And all my clients go to her now too to develop their workplace wellness materials. And of course, your accountant, your bookkeeper. So really, they're on retainers or contracted as needed. So I don't have any full-time paid staff. It's all what I call a just-in-time staff or on-demand, right?
Okay, so you have, yes, that's great. But so and that solves a lot of problems. It's also sometimes less convenient, but it's an easier way to work.
Well, it's when you build like my gal who does my website, if my site crashes, she's right there, and you nurture those relationships, and I'll tip them, and I try and be as very fair and reasonable and accommodating and giving them lots of lead time. So, you want to build relationship with those providers just as you want to with your client prospects that you're nurturing, right? Mm-hmm. So that when you need them, they're there for you, right?
Yeah, fantastic. So I think, is there something else I should ask you, Lisa, that I'm missing in your business?
No, I think you were asking me before if there's something I'd like to promote out there. And so I would just say anyone interested in learning more or connecting with me one-on-one, I'd certainly welcome you to join we have 2 groups that I have several groups I moderate, but 2 key ones. One's in Facebook called Workplace Wellness Professionals. And I also have a VIP list people can join. That's on my website in our resources section. And as well, I have a LinkedIn group called Workplace Wellness Ambassadors. So again, either my Facebook group, Workplace Wellness Professionals, or Workplace Wellness Ambassadors in LinkedIn, or my VIP list that you can get through kellywc.com. If anyone wants to reach out and connect and learn and grow with me or learn more about our programs, they can certainly do that through those opportunities.
Yeah, that's great. So let's just give the URL for your website is kellywc.com. So it's really easy to find. So it's KELLYWC.com. So that's very easy to remember. So Lisa, thank you so much for coming onto the Strong Women's Club podcast and for really getting into depth in your business is a different business model than a lot of our guests have. So my guests have. So I think that people find it really interesting.
Well, thank you. And again, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you again to Lisa Kelly. How are you doing with your end of year? Are you out shopping and decorating and baking and working like crazy? Or are you calm and in the flow and know exactly what's ahead of you for the next few months? I hope you're having fun and you're in control and you know what your next steps are and are able to work on your business and not just in it. I wish you health and happiness and strength, both physically and mentally. And I hope you're having a wonderful, warm, and loving time with your families. להתראות, everybody.